As you can probably tell, today we're going to talk about bunnies, because as Charles Schulz once said, there is nothing in life happier than a fuzzy bunny. Now, while I myself have never had a rabbit as a pet, I have had a couple of bunny experiences that I'd kind of like to share with you today. Way back when I was a teenager, young man full of angst and piss and vinegar and everything like that, I had a job as the Easter bunny. You know, the guy, like when you go to the mall and you sit and you take your picture with him and stuff? That was me. That was the guy in the costume. Great job. Fantastic experience. I'd recommend it to anybody. The only drawback is that you will learn way more about the plushie culture than you ever wanted to know, but other than that, it's a great thing. So the first experience I want to share with you, it's very important for you guys to remember that you're on my side when I tell you this story, okay? Because it's kind of one of those things like where even though I had the best intentions, it just didn't work out right. So there I am, I'm in the costume, and there's this kid who every day he would come by, and he would never come and sit on my lap, but every day he would get a little bit closer. You could tell he was scared, and he was checking me out, trying to get to know, like, okay, is this a safe thing or not? So one day I'm there, you know, I'm just sitting there in the costume, there's no kids or anything like that, and so I decide I'm going to get up and walk around. So I stand up, and when I do, I hear this scream coming from off to the side of me. Now, you got to remember, too, when you're in the suit, you have no peripheral vision. Everything is just right here in front of you. So I turned to look, and here's this little kid. And what I didn't realize is that he had walked right up to me and was, like, really close to me, really getting, you know, checking me out, closer than he'd ever been. And then all of a sudden, I stand up. So it's like, here I am, you know, he thinks I'm only this tall, but then when I stand up, suddenly I'm this giant thing, you know, like 6, 7 feet tall with these ears and everything like that. Freaked the kid out. So I look over, he is backpedaling, he is trying to get away from me as fast as he possibly can. What do? I go running over to him, like, oh my gosh, are you okay? You know, just try to imagine this being this little kid. Here's this gigantic bunny coming at him and stuff. It's like, I'm sure this kid is explaining this in therapy somewhere today. But the other experience I really wanted to share with you today, because this is one of my favorite life stories that I've ever had. So I'm sitting there one day, and I've been doing this job for a little while. And when you do this job, you find out really quickly that for little kids, Easter is like a second Christmas for them. They want everything under the sun. And, you know, so when you spend like 8 or 9 hours a day in this hot suit, hearing these kids sitting like, oh my gosh, I want Super Nintendo was the big thing when I was doing this, you know, like they all wanted that and rollerblades. And, you know, you're just hearing all these kids like, oh my God, I want this. And it was a little hard not to be jaded by that. So this one day, this little kid comes up and he, you know, sits down, and I immediately start going through my checklist. Let me see if I can guess what this kid wants. But he sits there and he's kind of quiet for a while. And he's staring off into space, and I can see the wheels turning. He's got that 1,000-yard stare going. And for some reason, I just thought I'm going to let this kid process it and, you know, see what happens. So after a few moments, the kid looks at me and he says, hey, Mr. Easter Bunny, do you have to pay for all the toys and treats and stuff that you bring to kids every year? And I told him, yeah. And so he asked me how I did it. And, you know, I'm kind of into the character at this point. So I told him, you know, like, hey, I've got all year to save up for it. Carrots and celery do pretty well in the stock market, so it's really not that bad of a thing for me. But, yeah, I do have to pay for it. So, again, this kid starts staring off into space. Wheels are turning again. And I'm getting the wave from the camera girl, like, you know, next kid, let's move along, okay? But I decided I'm just going to sit here and see what happens. I'm going to let this kid process it. So after a while, this kid jumps off my lap, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out these 2 pennies and gives them to me. Says, here, I hope this helps, and takes off. Doesn't take a chocolate egg, doesn't tell me what he wants, doesn't take the little coloring book we're giving out, nothing. Just came up to me, gave me everything that he had, and left. And there I am in the suit, just like completely blown away. So what I actually did, I took these 2 pennies and I put them on a chain. And I wish you could see this on the camera because it's really not, I'm sure it's not doing any justice, but like a friend of mine built a little band to hold these 2 together, and these 2 pennies are just worn smooth. God, they barely even look like pennies anymore, but that's what they are. They're these 2 pennies I've had for, like coming up 30 years now. And so whenever I feel like the world is, oh man, maybe there's a little selfishness going on, I pull out these 2 pennies, and I remember that, like, hey, sometimes it will surprise you what people will do. You never can see it coming. So if I could throw out a really cheesy metaphor here, don't be afraid to give in your 2 cents. You'll never really know the effect that will have on somebody or how far that input will carry them. That's the Happiness Project. Thanks so much for watching. Now go find out.